Welcome back to Outside Views, where today we're diving into one of the most charged debates in British politics right now once again, and that's the fight over trans rights. Because in 2025 it seems the British trans debate is far from over. In fact, it's only getting louder and messier and far more consequential. And it's dragging the political class, the media and ordinary citizens into a full-scale national reckoning. But let's start with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Just a few years ago, he proudly declared trans women are women. It was a simple slogan. It fit neatly on banners and into speeches. Fast forward to today, and after a landmark Supreme Court ruling I talked about, that statement has disappeared faster than a free pint at a pub. And according to Starmer's spokesperson, the Prime Minister no longer believes that transgender women are legally women. The Supreme Court made it crystal clear. Under the UK Equality Act, women or woman means biological woman. And Starmer, once a champion of trans rights rhetoric, now falls firmly in line with the court's interpretation. No more hedging, no more slogans, just the cold, hard law. The ruling itself is seismic. It stemmed from a Scottish law that mandated a 50% woman quota on public boards. Initially, trans women with gender recognition certificates were included, but thanks to a successful legal challenge by the women's rights groups for Women Scotland, the definition was indeed narrowed. A woman is now by law a biological female. End of story. And except, of course, it's not the end of the story. Because Amnesty International and other human rights groups are furious. They argue that excluding trans women from sex-based protections violates broader human rights principles. Thousands have taken to the streets across Britain to protest the decision. Rainbow flags, placards, and chants demanding trans rights are human rights. Petitions gathering tens of thousands of signatures within days, and letters sent to MPs, campaigns launched across universities. The backlash is organized and determined. The Equality and Human Rights Commission has wasted no time responding to the ruling. It's issued new guidelines. And here's the headline. Trans women are no longer automatically allowed to use women's toilets, showers, or changing rooms. And workplaces must now provide sex-segregated facilities. And where public spaces are concerned, separate or unisex options must be available. In short, trans women could now be directed to men's facilities or to unisex spaces if available. But the right to simply self-identify into any space, that chapter is closed. Pat McFadden, a cabinet minister, was quick to clarify that Britain isn't setting up a toilet police force and nobody's checking papers at the bathroom door. But still, the reality has changed. And the impact on everyday life for trans individuals is significant. And the court ruling didn't just touch on bathrooms. It affects hospitals and shops and gyms and schools and sports clubs. Anywhere services are divided by sex. And it fundamentally redefines who qualifies for female-only protections. Trans prisoners in women's jails are now being reassessed. Sports leagues are reviewing eligibility rules. Educational institutions are adjusting their safeguarding policies, and the ripple effects are everywhere. And meanwhile, political parties are feeling the heat. The Green Party, long seen as one of the most trans-supportive parties, had its own awkward moment. Co-leader Adrian Ramsey hesitated when asked whether he still believed that trans women are women. And cue media frenzy. And the fellow co-leader Carla Denyer rushed to patch things up. She insisted that the party remains fully supportive of trans rights. Trans women are women, trans men are men, and non-binary identities are valid. And according to her, there is no division at the top. Just different ways of expressing the same values. Still, it's hard to not see the cracks, especially with local elections looming, and especially when activists are demanding total clarity and total allegiance. No hedging, no nuance, and no gray areas. And the divide goes beyond politicians. Society itself is grappling with the implications. Schools must rethink policies on changing rooms. Hospitals must reconsider ward assignments. And employers must update HR guidelines. And individuals are asking themselves questions that a few years ago seemed quite settled. Who belongs in what space? Whose rights take precedence when rights conflict? And how do we respect everyone while maintaining fairness? And who decides what fairness even means? It is messy. It is emotional. It is personal. And it is political. And public opinion too is evolving. Recent polls suggest that while most Brits support trans people's right to live free from discrimination, there is growing unease around the concept of self-ID without biological consideration. Many now support the idea of separate spaces based on biological sex, not gender identity. And that's a major cultural shift. Support for blanket self-identification is dropping. Calls for compromise solutions are growing louder. But compromise doesn't make good slogans, and it certainly doesn't make easy politics. And activists on both sides are mobilizing. Women's rights groups are celebrating the ruling as a victory for common sense and biological reality. Trans rights groups see it as a devastating blow that rolls back hard-fought protections. And each side accuses the other of bad faith here. And social media, it's a battlefield. Every new court ruling, every politician's statement, every celebrity's comment, instantly dissected, amplified, weaponized. And meanwhile, real people are caught in the ceasefire. Trans individuals wondering if they will be safe and accepted. And women wondering if their spaces will stay women only. And parents wondering what schools will teach their children. And business owners wondering how to comply with the new guidelines without triggering a lawsuit. And people wondering whether booking a sports facility will mean answering invasive questions, or whether hosting a public event will require rethinking restroom layouts. So everyday life is getting more complicated and more contentious. But what's next? Legal challenges are inevitable. Lobbying will intensify, and international human rights bodies may weigh in as well. The UN Human Rights Council may investigate, and pressure from NGOs will mount. And Britain's cultural wars will continue to be fueled by the ripples of this decision, which I still think is right. Expect rallies, expect petitions, expect op-eds, and expect furious debates in Parliament. Expect fierce battles within political parties. Expect bruising interviews on morning television. Looking forward to some very certain ones here. And expect shouting matches on radio phone-ins. And expect endless arguments online. And expect this issue to be a major flashpoint in the next general election. Labour will try to walk a tightrope. The Conservatives will hammer them for weakness. And the smaller parties will scramble to avoid alienating key voter groups. It will be ugly. It will be emotional. It will be relentless. Because here's what's clear. The Supreme Court's ruling has fundamentally shifted the legal and social landscape. The law now clearly distinguishes between biological sex and gender identity. And that distinction is reshaping policies across every sector of British life. It's no longer a theoretical debate. It's happening in legislation, in offices, in bathrooms, in sports clubs, in schools, in every part of public life. It's even reaching the entertainment industry. The writers, the filmmakers, the actors, the musicians. Everyone is being asked to pick a side. Neutrality is no longer an option. And respect for individual identity remains crucial, and support for vulnerable groups remains essential. But so too does the protection of sex-based rights. Balancing these priorities will not be easy. There will be conflict. There will be more court cases. There will be passionate debates. But ignoring the complexity won't make it go away. And slogans won't fix it. Neither side can simply shout louder and expect to win by this. Solutions will require nuance and compassion and courage and honesty. Honesty about biology. Honesty about vulnerability. Honesty about competing rights. Honesty about trade-offs. Without that, the shouting will only grow louder. And I don't mean that people can order something on the other, but the divisions will only deepen. And for Britain, the fight over trans rights is not a side issue. It's now a defining political and cultural battleground. And where it leads will shape education policy. It will shape healthcare access, employment rights, freedom of speech, public safety, and ultimately the kind of society Britain chooses to become in the years ahead. A society built on reality and respect, or a society trapped in endless conflict? Well, the choice is coming, and it will not be an easy one. So, once again, thanks for watching, and if you appreciate clear, honest analysis without the political spin, then like, subscribe and hit the bell. This is Outside Views, cutting through the noise, one headline at a time. See you next time, and the next video is right here in the end screen.